And Linda Mayo, who I'm sure many of you know, was formerly with the Waterbury firm Griffin & Mayo, is now with our firm as a partner, and we are thrilled to have Linda with us as well. Thank you. I'd like to give a quick acknowledgement to all the nonprofits represented in the room. Our business community provides critical support to nonprofits across our region. This includes financial support as well as countless volunteer hours. Community support and volunteerism is a core value at Secor Cassidy McPartland. Please remember, all of you, to support and volunteer with these great organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. As I mentioned, we have a lot of sponsors that I just want to go through real quick. We thank our platinum sponsors, KBE Building Corporation, Post University, Savings Bank of Danbury, Thomaston Savings Bank, Yukon Waterbury, and Works. Round of applause for our platinum. Thank you. Among our gold sponsors are Carmody Torrance, Sendak, and Hennessy LLP, Eversource, Holy Cross High School, Hubbard Hall Incorporated, Ion Bank and King Industries, M&T Bank, McCall Behavioral Health, Power Station Events, St. Mary's Hospital / Trinity Health, Sirocco Mechanical Services, and the Tomaso Group. Thank you. Our silver sponsors, Levin, Paolino, and Christ Government Affairs, Muni Insurance, Pisani Steel Fabrication, Republican American, Sinagro Northeast, Traver IDC. Thank you very much for your support. So, speaking of Traver IDC, it is my pleasure now to welcome to the podium the Chairman of the Chamber's Public Policy Committee and First Vice Chair of the Board. Please welcome Mr. Jack Traver, Jr.
Thank you, Bill. Good afternoon, everyone. Today's luncheon is one of a series of events produced on behalf of our Chamber's Public Policy Committee. The committee, the Executive Board, and the Chamber's Board of Directors worked collaboratively to develop the 2024 Municipal Agenda in conjunction with Chamber member businesses and city officials. Thank you to our committee members, our Chamber lobbyist, Armando Paolino, and our Chamber Director of Government Affairs and Economic Development, Steve Del Vecchio, for producing the final document before you. Our municipal agenda, copies of which can be found at each of your tables, is meant to serve as a guide for the mayor and his administration on issues vital not only to the city's business community, but to its residents as well. Priorities are in the areas of fiscal control and city management, economic development, public education, and quality of life, which includes public health, safety, and education. These are vital components to the economic and social well-being of our city. By focusing on these issues, Waterbury can continue to be a strong, viable location for business and job development. We are especially pleased to work with Mayor Pernerewski, Finance Director Michael LeBlanc, and other city officials to lead efforts to improve the business climate in the Central Business District. A special thank you to the Board of Aldermen for approving additional uses for previously approved $1.5 million in ARPA funds. We are seeing a substantial increase in interest by business and property owners. We encourage all of you to become familiar with grant opportunities the Chamber is facilitating on behalf of the city. Information can be found at waterburychamber.com at the tab Downtown Business Grants. Please help spread the word and be our ambassadors to attract economic and business development in downtown Waterbury. Our Public Policy Committee looks forward to working with the mayor and city officials throughout the year to address the items most important to the business community as included in the municipal agenda. Please take the agenda with you this afternoon and review it when you have the chance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack. We appreciate your leadership on the Public Policy Committee. We're fortunate to have you. I did neglect to mention one other dignitary we have here, and I just met him, so this, immediate past chair, Mary. So better and better, everything. First Selectman Jerry Smith from the town of Beacon Falls. Jerry's here. Jerry. Thank you. So, without further ado, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce the Honorable Paul Pernerewski, Jr., the 47th Mayor of the City of Waterbury. An attorney for 37 years, Mayor Pernerewski served as Assistant Attorney General for the state of Connecticut and then General Counsel for the Connecticut Airport Authority. He joined Waterbury's Board of Aldermen in 2001, served for more than 2 decades. He was elected Waterbury's 47th Mayor on November 7th, and we are very grateful for the opportunity to have him here. Mr. Mayor, would you please come up, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all. How was your lunch? Good. I've been here like 3 times so far this week, and I think I'm coming back tonight, so it's a good thing the food is very good here, although it's not doing so much for my suits these days. But anyway, I'd like to welcome all of you to the 2024 State of the City presentation, which is my first State of the City presentation as mayor of this great city of Waterbury. And I'd particularly like to thank the Chamber and its CEO and President, Lynn Ward, for putting this all together. They do a wonderful job of bringing businesses and the city together, which is a very important task to make sure that we're communicating and that we're all on the same page as we move forward. And I want to thank all of you for coming today. I couldn't do this job without the support and partnerships from the people in this room, from my department heads, to our nonprofit partners, and to our business community. So thank you all for all of the support that you have shown me since I've taken on the role of mayor. And I want to particularly thank my staff who works with me every day. They are so focused and energetic in dedication, and I have to tell you that they make coming to the office every day a joy, and I couldn't do this job without all of their help. So I want to acknowledge them and say thank you. Together we've hit the ground running, and I want to tell you that the best is yet to come for Waterbury. I've been in office for a little bit over 5 months now, and I can tell you that I honestly love this job. I have had a terrific career, 27 years in the Attorney General's office, 10 years as General Counsel for the Connecticut Airport Authority, and I loved every moment of all of those years. But these past 5 months have been particularly satisfying to be the mayor of my hometown. This is a great job. I'm really enjoying it, and I enjoy it most because I get to meet so many wonderful people who are now friends of mine. They come up and they'll talk to me and tell me what they're thinking. It makes it very, very satisfying. So, I've been out there trying to be a hands-on mayor, being out where the people are so that I can understand the problems that we're having and the places where we're having success. And so we're getting out there on a daily basis to talk to people, and it's been wonderful to find out that they'll all tell you exactly what they're thinking about you at any given time. So you want to know what people think about you, get on a bus someday and write it for an hour and a half. We are a city that's open for business, and I've maintained an open-door policy because I eagerly want your feedback. I look forward to speaking with all of you and hearing what you have to tell me about how things are going. And we're making significant improvements and investments in Waterbury, and I really feel great about where we're headed. In the last year, 4 restaurants have opened in the Central Business District, offering a variety of new dining choices in downtown. The Patio, El Paraiso Bar and Grill, the Grant Street Tavern, Tullamore Public House are the newest restaurants, and I urge you to support all of these restaurants. On a personal note, because of a home renovation disaster that my wife and I had earlier this year, we had the opportunity to spend about 3 months in the Marriott downtown. And so we had the opportunity to spend a lot of nights dining in the restaurants in downtown Waterbury and throughout the city. And I'm going to tell you that they are all terrific and they're worth patronizing. So I hope that you'll all get down and take advantage of everything that we have in downtown Waterbury. And I'm going to tell you they're so good, it was really hard for me to get Kim to finally move back home when we were able to get back into the house. But But honestly, one thing, in mentioning Kim, I want to say that I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to her as well. She has been my biggest supporter. That are going to make that happen. Earlier this month, the Board of Aldermen unanimously approved a contract to move forward with the assessment and design work for One Exchange Place in downtown Waterbury, and we expect the renovation of that building to begin by the end of the summer. Now, you may remember the One Exchange Place is right downtown on the green. It's a central part of the city of Waterbury. It was running into problems because of the ownership that was set up through condos, and they couldn't come together and do the repairs that were necessary. And because of the condo situation, they couldn't sell the building either. And so there was great concern that this iconic building in the heart of the business district in Waterbury was going to continue to deteriorate. So the city stepped in, and getting a $7 million grant from the state of Connecticut, was able to purchase that building and have enough money to start doing the revitalizations down there. And we're very excited that this building is going to once again be filled because of the work that we're doing down there. We've had ongoing conversations with potential tenants, and we believe we're very close to having tenant occupancy for 3 of the 6 floors in that building. The other 3 floors will be occupied by the current city tenants who are in the Chase building as we begin the renovations of that building, which are long overdue. Part of that building complex was 2430 Bank Street, which was also acquired when we acquired One Exchange Place. The Bank Street building's has seen significant interest in the past of people who were looking to acquire it. Unfortunately, because of the condo ownership circumstances that were there, it was never able to be sold. And with the exception of the Seven Villages restaurant, it has remained vacant. But we anticipate, now that we've undone that condo ownership, we anticipate putting 2430 Bank Street up for sale in the coming months and expect that there's going to be a lot of interest and you're going to see that building fully occupied. The city's also continuing to invest in upgrading our downtown infrastructure. As any of you who were in downtown at all last summer, and my campaign headquarters was down there, knows we dug up all the streets, we screwed up traffic, we made it impossible to get from place to place. But all of that is important work for the future. And after completing the utility upgrades and the complete landscaping of East Main Street, we're now replacing the utilities on South Main, North Main, and Bank Streets in Waterbury. Preparations are underway to put the complete streetscape work out to bid in the coming months. So unfortunately, we're going to see this summer and probably part of next summer a mess downtown as well, but it's going to be well worth it by the time we're finished with those projects. Those are the projects that are going to make the future possible in downtown. We're also heavily investing in the Buckingham parking garage promenade to make sure that it's more welcoming to visitors, to downtown employees, and to our city residents. We've secured funding to fund the streetscape, or to do a streetscape on West Main from the Green to Riverside Street. And we're working on a grant to fund the underground utility replacement there as well. And finally, we are very pleased with the ongoing investment into the Waterbury train line by the state of Connecticut. It remains the fastest growing train line in Connecticut, and it's opened up opportunities for our residents in Fairfield, Manhattan, and beyond. Currently in Derby, the state is building a new $24 million train station, while in Naugatuck, a new train station is currently in the planning process. In addition, all of the other train stations on the Waterbury line are slated for major upgrades to their platforms. And the state has also signaled that they would like to install a catenary system on a portion of the line and purchase hybrid rail cars, which would allow for direct access from Waterbury to New York City without having to change trains in Bridgeport. And that'll open up the traffic back and forth and make a huge difference to us in Waterbury. The Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity grant, known as a RAISE grant, is going to fund a multifaceted transportation enhancement and construction project that will result in several transportation improvements to address mobility constraints, provide multimodal transportation options, reconnect historically disadvantaged neighborhoods, and help create linkages between the neighborhoods, the downtown, and the Naugatuck River. That's going to be known as the Water 2 project, and it's going to consist of 3 components. The first is going to be the Phase 2 of the Greenway Trail, which will extend the Greenway from the end of Eagle Street all the way to West Main Street. Component 2 is going to be the West Main Street streetscape improvements, and Component 3 will be the addition of electric vehicle charging stations at the Waterbury train station. The $23.1 million project is 100% federally funded, with construction anticipated to be completed by June of 2029. The city was also awarded a $75.4 million American Rescue Plan ARPA funds in March of 2021. This once-in-a-lifetime funding opportunity is being invested responsibly by the city to provide transformational benefits and returns for decades to come. We've prioritized the use of this funding in high-impact areas such as economic development, workforce development programs, small business assistance, park and public building improvements, along with investments in the city's water and sewer system infrastructure. The investments include $1.5 million to the Women's Business Development Council to move to downtown Waterbury to offer small business grants, education, and networking assistance. The Women's Business Development Council has so far awarded over $400,000 in grants, served 257 clients, with 1,645 hours of technical service. $1.5 million has gone to the Waterbury Chamber to provide matching funds to bring new businesses into the downtown's empty storefronts. $5 million was leveraged into $10 million of award from the state's Community Investment Fund for the redevelopment of the downtown Freight Street corridor. And $23 million has gone into new parks, park playscape replacements, and pool replacements, and $10 million went into replacement of underground utilities in the city's downtown. My administration is also committed to aggressively continuing demolition and remediation of key brownfield sites throughout the city for future development. In addition to the ARPA funds, the city, in partnership with the Waterbury Development Corporation, has secured an additional 25 grants totaling $31 million to date towards this very important work. And as many of you know, we've had some setbacks recently with the RFPs for the Animet site, but given its prime location and the investments that we have already made into that property, the city is committed to finding the highest and best use for that property. So we continue to speak with interested parties, and we're confident that the next RFP will result in a purchase and sale agreement, bringing in property tax revenues and jobs to the city. In addition, work continues on the Freight Street property, which once remediated will be an extremely attractive development opportunity, 22 acres in the heart of the business district downtown ready for development. Finally, we're expecting to move forward with the demolition debris removal at 835 South Main Street, which is property adjacent to the Mad River, later this month. And we continue to design the work for Phase 2 of Brass City Harvest, which will include multiple greenhouses, a farmer's market pavilion, river walk, and community gardens, in order to continue to bring healthy options to our residents. The city continues to make historic investments in parks and walking trails. At Hamilton Park, a new pool house, and renovated stone house will be opening in June. The city has also taken steps to close down the road that bisects Hamilton Park, and we've received funding for the complete redesign, which will add additional walking trails and parking lots. The pools and pool house at Fulton Park and Washington Park are also under construction, and we expect them to open in time for the 2025 swimming season. The design plans for the Martin Luther King Jr. Park are almost complete, and we expect to go out to bid in the next few weeks. And finally, the city is in the planning stages of the Naugatuck River Greenway Spur, which will run to the recently completed George Torado Senior Park in the South End. This is all part of a holistic set of investments to benefit residents and businesses, and is very propitious in relation to the population growth that Waterbury continues to experience. We've seen an enormous influx of families relocating from New York City and reestablishing themselves in Waterbury. And frankly, that's a great testament to the wonderful quality of life our neighborhoods continue to offer. With that growth, the need for additional types of housing options has increased. The $17 million Linden Street apartment development funded by the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program is projected to be completed by July. The two newly constructed buildings will consist of 61,400 square feet with 44 units of affordable and market-rate apartments, with a mix of 2 studios, 9 one-bedroom, 27 two-bedroom, and 6 three-bedroom units. Without question, one of the most important events of the past year was the Waterbury Housing Authority's progress towards the realization of a new 46-unit family housing development on West Grove Street. In addition to the Congressional Appropriations Grant, the Housing Authority was awarded a $2.7 million Community Investment Fund grant through the Department of Economic and Community Development. The Housing Authority is contracted with development partner Heritage Housing Incorporated, and they're moving forward with securing the financing and state funding to begin construction, and they hope to break ground this fall. The Housing Authority is currently working with Wind Development on the sale, transfer, and Wind's subsequent full rehabilitation of the long vacant building in the city's Brooklyn neighborhood. When completed, this will bring 76 units of affordable housing back online, for which 50 of those units, the Housing Authority will be providing project-based vouchers. And the Housing Authority is also currently working with the CHFA on the acquisition of Lawrence Estates, a 3-building complex in the city's Brooklyn neighborhood. And once acquired, the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority and the Department of Housing have committed funding for the total rehabilitation of this complex, furthering the Housing Authority's commitment to creating new affordable housing in Waterbury. And in addition to these projects, we're currently assisting other developers with affordable housing preservation through conduit bonding projects like Nottingham Towers and Laurel Estates. With respect to public safety, I'm very excited to report to you that as of today, we have 278 sworn police officers. That includes 25 Waterbury recruits currently on the road in a field training program, 2 certified lateral transfers in field training programs, 2 other lateral transfers in comparative certification training. And I want to say an important component to building those numbers has been the change that we made a year ago, or 2 years ago now, to our contract and to our ordinance that allows us to bring in police officers as lateral hires. Previously, officers from other departments had to start all over again at the bottom, and we were able to negotiate with the union and change our ordinance as well to allow us to bring them over at a comparable position that they held before, and we've attracted a number of folks over that way, which has helped us fill those ranks. And currently, background investigations are underway on dozens of police applicants for another academy class scheduled to start in 2024. So we expect by the end of this year to be just at that 300 police officer number where we ought to be, which will make it possible for us to put all of the special units back out on the street again, the community police officers and all the rest. We have also fully filled our supervisory ranks and promoted a new deputy police chief, 2 captains, 2 lieutenants, and 2 sergeants this past March. And there's ongoing recruitment for certified police officers, and we expect to open an entry-level recruitment in the very near future. We've also made significant investments in equipment to help our officers prevent and solve crime. The Real-Time Crime Center monitors dozens of cameras and plate readers, and it's led by a lieutenant, and it's staffed with Waterbury police officers and detectives. It's also staffed with officers from the State of Connecticut Department of Corrections, Parole, and Adult Probation, as well as personnel from the National Insurance Crime Bureau and Civilian Crime Analysis. And that center makes it possible for them to know what's going on everywhere in the city of Waterbury and has been responsible for solving a number of very violent crimes that have occurred in Waterbury. We've also recently installed 3 new fume hoods to provide safer drug testing for our forensic team, and we're transitioning all of our officers to a new firearm, the F9 9mm pistol. With respect to crime itself, unfortunately, we've had 4 homicides this year, and 3 have been solved so far with arrests. The good news is that this is a 50% reduction in shooting victims year to date, from 12 last year to 6 this year. And also, we've seen a year-to-date reduction in burglaries and robberies. And this is a great testament to our police department and our command staff, from Chief Spagnola down to our patrol officers. Leaders in community policing, no matter what was going on, they have stayed focused and dedicated to the people of Waterbury, and they've done their jobs and done it well day after day after day. We have a new website which just launched yesterday that will greatly assist the Waterbury Department of Public Health to promote healthy families, healthy neighborhoods, and a healthy community. The new site, which is takecarewaterbury.com, will be a valuable resource for the community, giving residents tools to take care of themselves with the help of the health department. This terrific new site provides an extensive community resource directory to help residents find a broad array of health care, social services for themselves and their loved ones. The Community Resource Directory is searchable and includes a robust range of services from employment assistance to housing resources, early childhood and elder services, legal and financial resources, and more. Developed with funding from a state grant for infectious disease prevention, the website features real Waterburyans set within scenes of our city, showing how simple steps can help residents and their loved ones avoid respiratory viruses like flu, COVID, and RSV. And the Waterbury Health Department will continue to build out the site with more valuable information for the community. Waterbury Promise has been a game-changing program for nearly 400 scholars since its inception in late 2021, partnering with the city and the Board of Education. Its mission is to increase college aspirations, reduce financial barriers, inspire students towards post-secondary education and completion. It is quickly growing and will serve more than 600 scholars by the next academic school year. And to date, the program has dispersed nearly $500,000 in last dollar scholarships. By 2025, it will award up to $5,000 per scholar per year. Is a state-approved post-secondary training facility that provides high-quality, accelerated technical training programs for individuals seeking to enhance their skills and knowledge in the manufacturing industry. It's established itself as a trusted partner for companies looking to upskill their workforce and individuals aiming to pursue a career in the manufacturing sector. Programming includes CNC entry-level operator, introduction to plastic injection molding, fundamentals of manufacturing technology, CNC2 Mastercam and State of Connecticut Apprenticeship Training Technology, CNC2 Mastercam and State of Connecticut Apprenticeship Training. It offers Waterbury Public School students and after-school programs sponsored by the Northwest Regional Workforce Investment Board and Waterbury Public Schools, and it is seeing growth in all of its programs offerings. Just this morning, before we came here, we were at an event at Mass, which brought together students and manufacturers so they could tour the facility, get to know each other, and understand what the programs are about. And we had 500 students there from Waterbury and the surrounding areas, and 25 manufacturers. And you could feel the excitement in the air as these young people finally understood what manufacturing means. I think a lot of people believe that manufacturing is gone from Waterbury and from Connecticut and from this area. And as you all know, the truth is that manufacturing remains strong here. It's not in big, dirty factories anymore. It's in small, very technical factories. And they're looking for workers, and we have students who are looking for good-paying jobs, and we have to continue to work together to make sure that we're connecting them. It's going to be best for all of them and for all of us as well. The Waterbury Reentry Welcome Center is operated by the Community Partners in Action and has served over 500 formerly incarcerated individuals since opening its doors in April of 2023. And we look forward to working with that Reentry Center and the Community's Partner in Action to develop an additional facility with support services for reentry programs on the recently purchased Sacred Heart campus. Businesses continue to come into Waterbury, and they're expanding. We continue to have a solid pipeline of new businesses that have opened or are scheduled to open, along with those that are expanding their facilities as they continue to grow. New businesses such as Aroma Joe's, Ashley Furniture, Caliber Collision, Griffin Welding, Pam Medical, Mama Joanna Cafe, the Women's Business Development Council, Easter Seals, Roosters, Optimus Healthcare, IG Independence, CCAR, Master Barber, and Eversource, the Eversource Emergency Center, have recently opened or are committed to opening. And Sidell Manufacturing, Quality Data, New England Breaker Services, and Any Scientific continue to expand, creating new employment opportunities as well. The Shearwater Company, owners of 3800 East Main Street, have reported they're making progress and are in negotiations concerning the future development of that 18-acre parcel. I-84 Vista, a future medical complex, is progressing with much of the tree clearing complete and excavation at the site underway. But most significantly, Blue Water Development and Amazon have stayed committed to the south end of Waterbury. Blue Water has been on site over the past few weeks conducting due diligence, and we fully expect to close on that project in December. Turning to the city's finances, we're projecting that the current fiscal year, ending this June 30th, will result in a strong surplus. My administration's first proposed budget for 2025 limits spending growth to 1.34%, which is well below the rate of inflation. In order to keep the city moving in a positive direction, we're committed to continuing to adequately fund our obligations, invest in our municipal workforce, provide a high-quality education for our students, and deliver services in a variety of areas, including public safety. The proposed fiscal year 25 budget prudently does all of this. The mill rate is proposed to decrease from 54.19 to 49.44 mills in fiscal year 25. And fiscal year 25 is the second year of a 4-year phase-in, which is an extraordinary development given that not that long ago we were at junk bond status here in Waterbury. Credit positives include a local economy continuing to undergo significant reinvestment and development. And it is a strong statement of the confidence the investment community has in this administration to continue growing our economy and moving Waterbury forward. This fall, we're going to celebrate the historic milestone of the 350th anniversary of the City of Waterbury with a community celebration that coincides with the gathering. The celebration is going to take place downtown on our historic green on Friday, September 27th, and will include historical images of Waterbury's colorful past, lively entertainment, along with food and activities for everyone to enjoy. We look back over the past 350 years as a tool to see how far we have come as a city and to allow us to look forward, learning from our past mistakes, capitalizing on what works to establish our future success. Despite bumps in the road and occasional setbacks from time to time, Waterbury's overall trajectory has always been and will continue to be one of progress. The future of our city looks bright. In addition to the businesses that have been investing in our city, families are establishing themselves here. And that is so important to the success, the continued success of Waterbury. My door will remain open. I want to hear from you about your ideas. Certainly, I want to hear when you think things are going well, but I also want to hear from you when you have concerns or when you have constructive ideas. Because in the end, we all share the same goal, to see our businesses, our residents, and ultimately our city prosper. So I want to thank you all again for your support, and now I think we have some time left, and I'll answer questions. So.
I'd like to ask about Yale, since you've done on everybody's mind. Importantly, what is your personal projection that it's going to get done?
So the question is about Yale's, the acquisition of Yale and Waterbury Hospital. And I'm optimistic that it's going to get done. I think we all know that it has to get done to continue to be able to provide the critical medical services, the quality medical services we have here in the city. I was disappointed when the CON got issued to find out that there were still some hurdles to overcome. A little bit more disappointed last week when first Yale and then Prospect filed lawsuits against each other. Listen, I was a lawyer for 37 years, but I don't think lawsuits are the best way to solve problems like this. They're good for lawyers, but not for many other people, so sorry. But what heartens me, though, in conversations with both Yale and folks in both Prospect is that they both are taking the position right now that they're involved in these lawsuits because they want this deal to go through, and they're trying to bring each other back to the table. So I'm very optimistic that's going to happen. I think it's in everyone's interest to make it happen, and I think we're going to see it ultimately get there. I'm hoping before the end of this year. I was hoping before the end of last year. I hope before the end of this year. But I don't see any real alternative to it. I think we know that we need 2 hospitals in Waterbury just for the sheer number of people who are coming through. We've got to have full services, and we need the 2 hospitals with our present configuration to be able to provide those full services. And the city stands ready to do whatever it can to help move that along. But at this point, I think it's really a matter of negotiations between the parties. To the extent we can help that along either ourselves or by pushing our state partners to get more involved, we'll be willing to do that. So, but I do think this is going to happen because in the end, I'm an optimist. I really do think in the end, the right thing happens most of the time, and this is the right thing. Anything else? Yes, sir.
It's good to hear an expansion to the police department, but with the additional businesses and stuff that are coming in, what are future plans for expanding and upgrading fire department?
We don't have any future plans to expand the fire department. We have sufficient. We do have sufficient fire houses and fire personnel to man the whole city. We are in the process of upgrading, though. As you know, we're going through. We have neglected. Waterbury has neglected for decades and decades and decades its infrastructure. Among them have been the firehouses. Over the last 20 years, we have made some progress. I mean, no one likes to hear it anymore because it's ancient history, but you all know where Waterbury was 20 years ago, and we've come a long way from that. Unfortunately, we haven't solved or addressed every problem in 20 years. We continue to do that. And I will tell you that in walking through some of the firehouses, I'm appalled by the conditions that we expect our firemen to live in while they're there out protecting us. So we're in the process now of redoing the fire station. We're designing it and hoping to get it done. I think it's Engine 5 out on East Main Street is slated to be completely redone and modernized with a bigger building in there, have additional equipment in it. The North Main Firehouse is in the process of, we're going to undergo some renovations there and some of the others, so that at the end of this process, all of our firehouses will be upgraded and modernized. But I don't see an expansion of the number of firehouses or the rest. They're probably not perfectly positioned throughout the city. I think if we could lift them up and move them, we could do even more efficiencies. But right now, I think there's sufficient numbers out there to cover every part of the city. And I can tell you, I think the longest response time anywhere in Waterbury by a fire truck, which is critical not just fires, but as our first responders for medical care especially, is about 4 minutes. So I don't know that there's many other places near us in which you're going to see a firefighter show up at your door within 4 minutes of calling in for help. So. And I do want to say, I talked about the police before because crime is what we're focused on, but we do have, between the police and the fire, the best public safety people in Connecticut, I believe, in all of the Northeast and probably the country. They are all dedicated and they work very hard every day. And we should thank them for that. Hi. Mhm. I've heard you were schizophrenic. I never knew you had that many personalities before. So, thank you. So, as you know, unfortunately, and it's a change not just affecting Catholic churches, but all churches, there's been a huge decline in attendance at churches throughout the United States. And in Waterbury, a city that, decades ago was heavily Catholic, and I don't think you can walk a quarter mile anywhere in the city without coming across a Catholic church. That has meant that there's been a lot of churches that have closed, and the Archdiocese was in the process of selling them. And the city has, I think, judiciously purchased a number of those buildings for future use, with the goal to be sure that for some we had an immediate purpose, and others we were hoping to be able to control what development happened there. But most importantly, in the short term, we were able to control those buildings and make sure they didn't just sit and deteriorate. But with respect to the two that Francine has asked about, St. Lucy's, which is right next to Pal up in the north end of Waterbury, the plan, and it's underway right now in the planning stages, and we're working to get financing. We've gotten some in place, and we're working on additional financing as we speak, is to turn that into a community health center for the north end. One of the things that we know is that there are areas in the city which don't have adequate health care, and that there are really significant differences in outcomes in many cases depending on where you live in Waterbury. And one of the things that we found as we went through COVID was it's often difficult to get people to come to where the services are provided even if they need them. But if you bring the services to where people are, they're often more willing to accept them and to participate. And so we had done that through COVID, and the idea with St. Lucy's now is to create that community health clinic that's be right in the middle of that part of Waterbury, providing services, both health care, mental health services, other services, right where people can easily get to them. And we're hoping to make that transformational in the north end of Waterbury. The other campus asked about was Sacred Heart, which you know is on Wolcott Street, the very beginning of Wolcott Street there. And that consists of 4 buildings at this point that the city is in the process of purchasing. The Board of Aldermen has approved a purchase and sale agreement. We're working with the Archdiocese to get that completed. There are some things within the church that they want to remove before they turn it over to us, the stained glass that has any icons in it. And there's also a huge, huge pipe organ in the back of that church. And we have no use for it. They're removing it. I think they're going to have to store it. Just to give you an idea of how big it is, I think Father Sullivan was interested in moving it to the Immaculate. The organ is too big to fit in the choir loft of the Immaculate Conception Church, and it's going to cost them something like $250,000 just to remove the organ itself. But what we want to do down there, so you've got the church, you've got the old grammar school, which until last year or 2 years ago had the Children's Community School in it. They're now in the St. Joe's building in Brooklyn. So that's empty, and you have the convent and you have rectory building. The convent is being used, the rectory building is currently empty as well. So the goal is to take the school and turn it into a reentry center for people who are returning from incarceration, and have a training program there for folks where they can get skills, job skills, they can get support services. Because the truth of the matter is we know that no one who goes to prison, with very few exceptions, is staying there forever, and they're going to come back out. And one of the things that is true is if you come out of prison and you don't have good job prospects and you don't have any kind of support services, you're very likely to become a recidivist and get sent back into prison, and those numbers are way too high. But what we find, if we provide services to folks, we give you job training so that, no offense to fast food, but if we give you job training so that you can get a job that's going to pay more than flipping burgers at McDonald's, you're less likely to go back to a life of crime. If we give you services to help you reintegrate with your family, you're much more likely to have that built-in support service that so many of us take for granted. If we give you services that will help you with drug addiction and alcohol addiction, even things as simple as if you've been incarcerated for a long time and you come out, you don't have a driver's license. Try to do anything in America today without a driver's license. And so those kinds of services will make a difference, and we think they're going to be very important. It's particularly good at that facility because, as you may know, Connecticut Renaissance has been running a halfway house out of the convent on that facility for I think, something like 40 years. They rented from the Archdiocese, and so there would be a synergy of services between that facility and the folks who would be able to use the school. In addition is the empty rectory building, and as you may know, Connecticut Renaissance has a facility on Central Avenue that is also a halfway house for men. And from our perspective, the city's perspective, we'd like to move that halfway house out of the central business district and reuse that property. And so we had conversations with Connecticut Renaissance about moving that to the empty rectory building, which is well suited for it. It's beneficial to us because we get Connecticut Renaissance would purchase those two buildings. We would carve them out. They would be there as fully responsible. The last piece is the church. And when we first talked about this, there was some thought about making the church a storage facility. We do actually need storage in the city. But over this past year and the 5 months that I have been mayor, one of the things that is really critical here is homelessness. It had been going down for a while, but with COVID, like everything else in the world, it went back up again. For some reason, COVID had a detrimental effect on almost everything that happens and set us back in a number of areas, homelessness being one of them. And so there's a need. In the winter here, the homeless shelters, which St. Vincent de Paul runs, Salvation Army runs, one for families, are filled. They're filled to capacity. There's no place for people to stay. And it's particularly troubling with the families because over the last year or so, the Salvation Army has been putting them up because they had federal dollars available in the hotel downtown. And I joked before that we stayed there. We were there for 3 months, and I can attest to the fact that there were a number of families living there. But that money's going to run out next year because all this ARPA money, ESSER money, and all the rest of it is stopping, right? It doesn't go on forever, so that's going to run out next year. And there's going to be a real need for that kind of housing. So I've been having conversations with the providers. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with that, what it's going to finally look like, but it is going to be some sort of a homeless project where we can provide some relief, I think, for the overcrowding if that's necessary, perhaps some family areas, also with support services, because again, with homelessness, especially with families, it's often getting some help getting back into work, getting a job back, and finding a place to live, and all of that takes some work. There's another part of it that I hadn't realized until talking to folks over the past winter as well, which is that a lot of homeless people, as you can imagine, end up in the hospital. And where most of us would go into a hospital and they would do what they have to do and send you home to recover, if you're homeless, they can't send you home to recover. They send you back out on the streets, and that's just not doable. So very often people who are homeless are staying in hospitals longer than they need to for the care that they need, but there's nowhere else for them to go, so they don't get released. That's a very expensive way to provide follow-up care, number one. Number two, it's tying up beds that could be used by other folks, and we know the hospitals fill up and over time, especially in the winter. So one of the other options is to use that building or part of it for something called respite care, where someone who might be homeless could be released from the hospital and then go there to have their wounds heal or whatever the other follow-up care is. They don't need the intensity of a hospital. So we're looking to do something like that in that facility as well. It's well suited at this point to that neighborhood because, as you may know, Gwym is right across the street. The soup kitchen is right across the street. The hospitality center is right down the street from there, which is a place that homeless folks can go to get showers and wash their clothes and do some other things that's in that area. And the last piece, I almost forgot to mention until I mentioned Gwym, is the basement of that church is a huge open space. It's got a very large kitchen. And post-COVID, Gwym has been doing sort of takeout food when they do their soup kitchen. So the folks come at meals time, but there's no place inside for them to sit and eat. And they take the food out and they eat out on the street. So if you're living on the street, and a day like today, maybe we'd like to have a picnic outside, but in the heart of winter, and these days with the way the climate is going, the heart of summer are very difficult times to be stuck outside. So we'd have a place for people to come in and warm up or cool down and be able to have their lunch or their dinner with some level of dignity as well over there. So I think it all makes an awful lot of sense. I think it's things that we need to do, and that's kind of where we're going with those projects at this point. Sorry, I'm a little long-winded, but I really care about that, so. Anything else? Yes, sir. Okay. With respect to the first question on the sewer bill, as you know, Waterbury provides sewer and water services to some of the surrounding towns, and there's been some ongoing litigation with some of the towns over how much they were paying for either water or sewer. There's some historic contracts. There was a point with Watertown where they were paying less than folks in Waterbury paid. The city thought that, they should pay as much as Waterbury pays or a little bit more, and they tried to impose that fee, been billing at it. Watertown disagreed. There was a lawsuit. Watertown lost the lawsuit. The judgment was in favor of the city. I think at that time the debt was for $18.8 million. Watertown has filed an appeal of that. That appeal is currently pending. I believe just recently they've had a pre-trial conference or a pre-hearing conference, they call it in the appellate court. So that will trigger a timing for briefs to be due, first from Watertown, then from the city of Waterbury, and then they'll schedule an argument. But Watertown has also petitioned the court, I believe, at this point to move from the appellate court to the Supreme Court. So that's a decision that has to be made as well, so we're waiting for that to happen. In the meantime, the debt of 18.8 continues to accrue interest, so that number grows over time, and Watertown continues to pay what they believe they owe the city rather than what the city has billed them for. So to the extent the city is successful on the appeals, which I expect that we will be, but to the extent that we are, that delta will also continue to bear interest and late charges. And when we do the calculations today, that number now stands at the total all-in number between the old debt and the debt since the judgment. It's somewhere around $25 million. I do know one of the issues that I've heard from a lot of people is how often they run, because the buses tend to run each route about once an hour, which isn't always conducive, especially since they meet downtown generally right at the half hour. So if your bus is 3 minutes late, you're going to miss the next bus. You got to wait another hour. So we're trying to work on that. But as the other side to it is, as you know, there's a level of ridership that's there, and the ridership has to be able to sustain the bus service as well. It's very difficult to operate an entire bus for one or two people. You've got to have the numbers that are in there. But they have been open to talking to us about things that we can do to make it easier for folks. So we'd be happy to continue those conversations, and any specifics you have would be helpful. So anything else? You're not tired of listening to me yet? So. Well, thank you all. I really do appreciate all of your support, and I know we're all in this together. The city needs you to succeed. I believe you need the cities to succeed. I think that we're all really on the same page, and I look forward to working with you over the next 3 years, maybe longer, but at least the next 3 years. And I think we're all on the right path. Waterbury's going in the right direction, and I think we're going to be proud of what we've accomplished together 3 years from now. So thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Mayor Paul. It's been a pleasure the last few months working with you and your administration. I'd like to thank all of the sponsors that are here, that were named earlier. We can't do what we do without our sponsors, our members. I'm Lynn Ward, President and CEO of the Waterbury Regional Chamber. It's an honor to have you all here, an honor to have the mayor this morning. I want to thank our chairman, Bill Palumba, our chairman of public policy, Jack Traver, and all of you for being part of our organization. I hope you have a great day. Thanks again for coming.